Welcome to another episode of Love Notes.
All nurses to the nurses station.
This is Taquita Love, a nurse and a comedian.
You think you could bring your brother the clear machine home? You know, the reviver.
And I'm talking to my funny friends about medical mishaps.
Clear!
You are listening to Love Notes.
Welcome to my show, Mr. Chase Anthony.
Hey.
Hey. What's up, Chase?
Man, ain't too much, living this good old pandemic life, if that's the thing.
Is it? Could we say it's good?
I mean, we here, so I say that we could say that it's great. But I mean, it's definitely a new normal.
Are you a mask wearer?
Yeah, I am a mask wearer.
I'll be saying 6 feet, like I'll stick my hand out and be like 6 feet, and
That's
I look
so
crazy.
Funny. You're like a crossing guard. That's what you look like.
I need to wear one of those little green things and just have my hand out the whole time and just do the little wave like gone past.
No, I think that it is. It's a hard space to be in. For me, I guess I don't understand the cloud of ignorance that's associated with it. And it's like I'd rather be wrong but right. You know what I'm saying? Like right with my health, right with all those things, and eliminating the mask. I just don't see how people are like, oh, this is okay as our death toll just continuously just grows. I don't know, but I'm doing my part, and so far, so good. And I think that also too because of like work, like you said, like you doing it at work, so you getting tested, you looking at the results, you're looking at the research, you're looking at all kinds of different people probably coming in, probably a foot traffic. So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
They got it.
It's crazy. I'm tired of being a crazy a crazy daughter, a crazy sister. I put a mask on my dog, and that's when I knew I needed to stop. I was like, let me just stay in the house because my dog was mad. He almost bit me. He was like, bitch, I ain't gonna get COVID. Leave me alone.
That's hilarious.
Because they gotta smell like pee, and all that. Anyway, that ain't what I really wanted to talk about. It just kind of eased up. There was a show every Sunday, Anye. Do you remember those shows, the Sunday show? And the one day that I feel like I actually like had a conversation with you and actually like kind of had like the comedy comrade connect, like when you finally like click with a comedian and be like, oh yeah, they cool. Was that Anye show. And I was starting to talk about my jokes of recovery, my mom in recovery. And then like you gave me punches, you gave me tags, and then we kind of stood outside and talked about like how we grew up. And I just thought that was really dope. To like you connect with people in different ways, but stand up and telling our truths a lot of times has really, opened my eyes and like made me see that other people like me and other people go through the same stuff I go through. So that was just like how I remember meeting you. And I'm pretty sure we met before, but like in the comedy circuit and on the comedy scene, it's like you see people, you say what's up, and it'd be like, okay, another, just another comedian. But then it was that day that I was just like, yo, like I Chase cool. I mess with him. And then of course, years and years of comedy and shows. I think I did you and Chinadu show. Yeah, a couple times. But then you was just like the homie. So I was like, yo, what was your comedy journey like?
Man, you got to get fired. Like you got to get fired a lot and end up in a position where you actually do use your education, but you probably still a little rougher around the edges. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people, see who I am now, the work that I've done to look and act and, articulate things the way I do now. And so, I guess that's a little absent of the journey, or I guess the beginning, like me and you kind of discussed. And so for me, like I was doing accounting and, math just happens to be something that is, I guess, easy for me. And so
Number.
yeah, numbers was my thing, but it's associated in so many different ways, whether it's sports, whether it's hustling, and or whether it's in the workforce, especially with that. So for me, it's been all those different things. I think that's contributed to that point where you do get fired from a job because you don't want to conform, and then you just
Mhm.
start looking at life like, all right, well, shit, how do I want to go about this? How am I going to move? What is the rest of my life going to look like? What do I find purpose in? And then you do some LA shit, like go roll you a blunt and go sit on the rock and think that that's the way to talk to God. Like, God, if you could tell me anything, you tell it to me now while I'm nice and high, like on this rock. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like I don't know what scripture told you that like just God is gonna show up when you this high, bro. But it wasn't God, it was actually my aunt. And so I told her, like, hey, I think that I really want to take my shot with acting. And she kept it real with me. She was like, other people have went to school for this, and her being one of them, I think that was the reason why she kind of approached it that way. She was like, so the easiest way for black men is kind of through comedy. And then she went on the list of the Pryors, the Eddies, the Martins, the Bernies, like the Seds, like everybody. Like she just kind of ran down that list from
Mhm.
um to shows like Sanford and Son and stuff that's produced based around some form of somebody's life or comedy. um and so she was like, you got to do comedy. And I was like, well, let me start interviewing for jobs because I'm not going to do comedy.
What? Did you
um
not think it was
I,
funny,
I
or?
I didn't to be honest, it wasn't necessarily that I thought that I wasn't funny or not. I think that our community breeds that comedy itself. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's kind of intertwined with camaraderie. You shoot the shit, you talk shit, you talk about your mom's outfit or her nightgown every once in a while, and it's a funny joke.
That's like
So
love.
yeah, so exactly, it's
I
it's
got
it's a
one more.
form of love. And so you ride that wave. You like, all right, bet. So when she said that shit, I was just like, no, this okay, this is not okay. It's almost like that move home moment. Like, yeah, this LA shit, I'm cool. But
Mhm.
then I was, you start thinking about it. You're like, you know what? Like, I've never given up on anything. I've never not tried anything if I really thought that I had some interest. So, fuck it, let me try it. What's the most that can happen?
Mhm.
And it was funny. I remember this day. The first time I ever went up was at the West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica.
Okay. In
It was
LA.
Yeah, it was an open mic, and you hear your name get called for like, hey, you're next, and like
Mhm.
I remember just not hearing anything like anymore, like I fucking went deaf as fuck,
That fear, like,
and
beginning, like, triple.
yeah, what? And so like I blacked out, right? I don't even remember being on stage. I don't remember what I said or anything. But my cousin, when you tell somebody something and somebody believes in you, or they want to push you, they like, bet I'm gonna manage you. That's like always like the black thing to do. Like, bet I'm gonna manage you. It's like, nigga, I don't have nothing to manage. It's not. You don't even think about that. It's like, I'm gonna manage you. It's like, you already want your cut of nothing. This is crazy. And so he
Atlanta
re-
story.
yeah, so he recorded it, right? And so I remember that he flipped the camera around, and I felt like I was gonna shit on myself. Can we say that on that show? I'm sorry,
You can say what you
but
want.
yeah. So that's like instantly how I felt. Like I felt sick in my mind. I thought I went to the bathroom. Bullshit, you not. I thought
Oh
that I
my
went to the bathroom, and I was like, all right, bet. And I didn't know from that moment. And again, we've talked about like growing up with family members that fight with addiction. Like I was
Mhm.
I was addicted right then and there. Like I was addicted,
Yeah.
like, and I had a addict like mindset. And I can tell because like, and you probably have felt that same kick too. Like once you get that high, you're like, I bet, well, I need this feeling. You know what I'm
I
saying? I need this feeling of success. I need this feeling of winning. I need this feeling of every level of this. And I don't want to skip no steps. I don't want to skip these highs. I don't want to skip any of this. So I was walking to open mics because I got fired. I crashed my car. So the only way that it was just like to manage. Oh, and I had this like Land Rover that I had to tell everybody about because the shit never worked. So like I was like, hey, it was like, oh, you walking? Like, yeah, man, just out for a walk. I got a Land Rover. Like, yeah, but
so you was the dude that was like, I ain't driving, but I got a car.
yeah,
Don't drive.
save the earth and shit. Like, not on purpose though. And again, I didn't know how addicted I was, and I walked, Quita. I walked everywhere. I walked to every open mic. I lived at like Park La Brea, so I was right across the street from the Grove, and I walked to every open mic. I'll start with Marty's, or I'll hit Mel's, or Sal's on Melrose, or I'll pop to some of these other little open mics, and then you always want to end up somewhere at the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, or something like that, and
Right.
then I walk home at night, and
Okay.
I still have the shoes. And I used to actually do it with Brandon Lewis because that's why like one of the people who I started with,
I remember
and
meeting him at Ha Ha.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, again, like I think that you have that addict's approach, and you just chase that high. And you might just be chasing the one from that first time, but you keep wanting to excel because now the length starts growing, the high starts lasting longer and longer, and then again, the success is attached to it. But I think that it also gives you that formula, and I think that it does give you some of the tools that you need, that rawness and vulnerability that it translates into acting. Of course, you take classes, and I've taken a lot of acting classes as
Uh-huh.
well. But um, comedy will always be that high, and being able to do it, you know, on the backs of some of the legends, and then on the back of one of the biggest, also presented as challenges. Doing it with Sinbad, he's known to be a clean comic, and
I
he
love
don't
it too.
yeah, he don't tell you to be clean, but you're like, oh, okay, this his vibe. Trying to make sure that you being mindful, like this his audience. He worked for this. He built this. So you
Hmm.
can't come in here and just say, oh, well, I think that I'm funny. Like, nigga, you're never gonna catch him. Like, you're chasing a ghost. He's so far ahead of you. But be mindful of his audience. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Be mindful of who's there. So you ain't just coming in here with a whole bunch of this, whole bunch of that. Like, and then it challenges you to now be a little bit more creative of how you're saying the same thing. Cause that's what I started noticing he was doing. I was like, oh, okay, bet. The OG, he out here like, shit, he saying this and this. He talk about the same things that everybody and anybody is talking about, and he can go further because he
Hmm.
ain't he's already stretched the vocabulary to a place where he's saying fucking bitch without saying bitch.
Exactly. You know what? It's dope that you said that because in the beginning of doing for me when I did stand up, like at first it was like you get the 3 minutes or the 5 minutes, and I didn't feel it. And then at some point, like every minute and every second of your set count, and you like literally like I love Sinbad. And like to see how he work and how the jokes are just as funny as, somebody that curse all day. And I like both styles. I like
Right.
all comedy.
Yeah.
But it's something to see, like, especially like it kind of makes you level up too. I feel like it's like if you around somebody that's killing it and use every word, every statement, every eye expression, use the whole stage and everything.
That part.
And it's selective with the words,
Talk about it.
then like you can call somebody a bitch without calling them a bitch.
Man.
Everybody
And
know it.
and that was the part that like it humbles you in a way because you've already accepted the challenge, right?
Hmm.
And then on the other side though, like you said, me and Chinadu hosted the show, so I had to make sure too that like I'm a young black man, and that is my experience, and so there's nothing that would take away from that. That I'm an '80s baby, like that just is what
Me
it
too.
is, and
Yep.
I'd never considered myself a clean comic, so it was like that other side that would come out, and it almost would cause me to go so far left once I got back to doing our shows that we were producing and hosting. And they were just like, sometimes, I mean, it was still funny because you're still you working a muscle. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So you're still out on the road, you're still doing this, but it's just like, damn, bro, like you're willing to be so vulnerable. It's like, yeah, because I can't say necessarily this, and I haven't figured out a way to say all of this in this
Uh-huh.
platform. And then once I started stretching that, because he would do that shit where he'll keep me on stage with him. And,
Okay.
you know, I think a teacher always can see your potential. You know what I'm
And they
saying?
challenge you.
Yeah, and man, you talking about some fucking challenges, man. That nigga would toss out some challenges because he'll toss out real life. So he'll hit you with some shit like, "Oh man, tell him about how how you used to sell drugs." Like, whoa, what? Tell him about how you used to fight all the time. What? Like, bro, this is tell him about your ex girlfriend. It's like, yo, bro, this is stuff that I'm telling you. But in turn, it would be shit that you have to talk about. So next thing you know, you got a new 10 minutes.
But everybody, the thing that I learned too is like the stuff that we go through, everybody else going through it, you
Yeah.
know? And I think when you become comfortable with who you are, that you okay with expressing and saying, yeah, I did this or I did that. And you know, and then when I talk about like who I am, my mom was in recovery, me being a nurse and like not wanting to touch my daddy dick when he was in the hospital. You know, when I say real stuff, like this is me. This is really what happened. I had a ex that was mad. We broke up and he started talking, you know, texting me about his daughter. And I'm like, that ain't my daughter. Like, you know, like that's how I really felt. And people, I would get so much more love when I was just
Oh
like, this is
man,
who I am. Like,
man, and
this is for me.
that's the real reward from it. I mean, I know now we've definitely probably jumped to a different tax bracket when it comes to us going from open mics to, you know, working and being able to eat off of comedy.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the time, but and I'll say this, and it is no cap, as they say. Um, Having that conversation with you though translated into more freedom in that realm of things. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? And it didn't matter what audience it was talking about that. And so um, once I started talking about that with Sinbad's crowd, of course, you know, they're a little bit older, or, you know, they may have, you know, that different pocket of child, and they, after the show, like hugging you, like, yo, you just freed me. I thought that I was the only one who grew up with, you know,
Man.
this many addicts in my family, or this wilding, or my dad on some shit, crazy shit. Like, you just freed me from some shit. But I'm telling you, it's conversations, because me and you had that conversation. That's not necessarily this conversation that is extended to everybody that we work
Mhm.
with, because sometimes
Right.
you are coworkers. So I think you do cross a threshold where you're just like, yo, okay, bet I can fucks with this person based
Yeah.
on, you know, this commonality, or you know, this common thread of things. Is so that's when it becomes, of course, bigger than comedy, but it does free you, like you said. You can go up here and be free, and where you're somebody's drive home probably is the most refreshing thing after a comedy show, which you wouldn't think.
Yeah. I think it's something that like another thing that is like when we on stage, sometimes people think we bigger than life.
Right.
And I think that when we talk about stuff that like they go through too, that it's just like we all deal with the same. I'm just telling you what I think, y'all. Y'all think the same thing, you know. And it's just like I think that just make them like feel like you know you approachable and you want, you know, you are the talent, but you become like almost like family. And this I was at a show one day and a girl touched my titties after the show. Um and look, I'm saying this because that is the most like for you to be so comfortable with me about what I talked about on stage that she
Facts.
was a little drunk, but you know, like, but she touched my titties and was like, "What kind of bra you got on?" And like, you know, it was offensive a little bit. A part of me was like, you know, if I was at my cousin's barbecue and it was with the family and I came in, they, you know, my cousin would be like, "Oh, Quita, you got they sitting up," or you know, they might. So that part of like when people feel comfortable, that she went a little too far, but I'm
Right.
just saying like when people feel comfortable enough to come and talk to you about their stuff, and approach you in certain ways, then it's like you feel like like you family. And I
Well,
think that's the part of entertainment that people love.
well, because you feel it in music, you feel it in all like, and then again, you see people so many times that you feel like you know them. You know, you be
Yeah.
like, oh shit, my bad. I thought that I knew you like in real life. I've been watching this show. Like, shit, my bad, man. I'm Chase. It's like, it does break that threshold, and
Mhm.
I think also too, some of us are probably a little bit more approachable than others, and there is the art that goes into the performance and stuff like that. So people find different things because everybody ain't approachable. I've noticed in our job, everybody ain't like, hey, touch my titty after the show,
I mean,
because I think I think that also too, they're working from a different space. Like me and you are storytelling comedians. We're talking about real life experiences and our perspective, or maybe some outside perspectives of it. And other people might be just writing a joke. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And I think that those are two totally different things, but you are that person that they're inviting to that same barbecue. Like, hey, look, we got a family cookout. It's for my grandma's 90th birthday. Do you want to come? And it's like nobody invites somebody that they don't know to a family cookout. They invite somebody that feels like family. And that's what
Yeah.
I think, like you said, and sometimes it'd be a form of therapy. Like that should be therapeutic.
Yeah. I'm look, I've been jumping on online shows. A part of me at some point after doing stand up for so long, a part of me it kind of felt like almost like brushing my teeth. Like if I don't do it, I feel like yucky a little bit. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I didn't do something I was supposed to do. And then sometimes so with me working as a nurse, it's like it's always like the show must go on. Work
Right.
must go on. No matter what life is doing to you. When I go to work and I got a patient that's getting chemo or something, then I have to be like, you know, fuck me. I gotta go in there and do what I gotta do and care for them. And I think with stand up too, it's almost like the beauty of it is like whatever we going through, we can express it and expose it and find it. Like we find humor and people find like they connect to you through it. So I don't know, it's therapy. I miss it. I want to go on stage. I haven't been. I've been doing
Man,
online shows and
I was trying to
it's
remember my jokes, and I can't. And I can't. I mean, I feel like I've written new jokes,
yeah.
but I can't. Like it's. I know that first time of going back on stage is definitely going to be feeling weird. I'm definitely glad that I have the buffer and I'm blessed to be able to like be going back to work. But it's this is different.
So where are you from, Chase? Are you from LA or
I'm from Atlanta.
okay, from Atlanta? That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm from Atlanta. I lived in Minnesota for like some years, and then I've been in LA for about 14.
Okay. Did
Um,
you do Freaknik and stuff when it was out there?
no, I was too young. So
Oh,
my sister and them did, and like I got to see like some elements of it, but never like the full thing because you was too young. But I
yeah.
remember the shit because I remember like my sister and my cousin they they went and used my uncle car one year, and they got tickets for hanging out the sunroof or something. And I can't tell if I can't remember if it was my cousin or my sister. Really bad if it's your sister. Um, but even kind of worse, I think if it's your cousin too, because like who's driving?
Oh yeah.
But
Um, I know Rodney Perry from Chicago. Um,
yeah, he lives in Atlanta though. I think.
yeah, that's what
Um,
made me think of him because I just did a podcast interview with him last week.
Brother
Let me talk
Rodney.
about Atlanta a little bit. Um, but so I want to get back on you. So you were an accountant. You didn't say you got fired or something happened. You left. You was in LA, you had a Land Rover, didn't work or something went right. You walked everywhere. Fast forward, so
So
you
I
starred in a
yeah
web series called The Whole
yeah
New Urban.
yes.
And I
And it got bought by HBO. I want to say
yes. Was that recent that it was brought by HBO?
yeah.
fast forward. Yeah, I know you tour with Sinbad. How did that happen? How did you?
Actually, it's, I mean, again, it ends up being a small world. I'm good friends with his daughter,
Okay,
and I used to work for his brother.
okay,
Actually, I think my first job when I was like 15, I came out to LA to visit my dad, and you know, he was being a fuck nigga, and so I ended up going to work with my auntie who also worked with her brother. I ended up organizing some Sinbad tapes to my
okay.
foreshadowing, and I kept getting in trouble because I was watching Sinbad videos. I was like, "Do y'all know how funny he is?" They like, "Yes, we do." Like, I'm managing him, so yes, I know how funny he is.
Yeah.
Um, and so then, he only knew me as an accountant though. Like, he didn't know me as, Chase the comedian. Like, I'm your
Uh-huh.
daughter's friend, so it's kind of in passing. And then, um, one year in Aruba, I was down there working, and they wanted me to host, and I was like, "Huh?" And it's like thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait, what? And I had already took it to the face in Aruba before because I had a terrible fucking intro, and I had only been doing comedy for a year. And the headliner fucking had missed his flight or some shit like that. And so they was like, oh, here's Chase.
But so did they already know that you were a comedian or funny or
They
personality?
knew they knew they knew that I had been doing comedy,
Okay,
but I'm just down there on some accounting shit though. And
right.
so they asked me to host that year, and I end up hosting the comedy part, whatever. And I was fucking with Sinbad, and he was like, "Yo, I didn't know that you did comedy," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now." At the time, and he was like, "Yeah," he was like, um, "Well, they're gonna have you host Sunday night. Sunday night is the big headliner, so." I think it was El Varner and fuck, who was the headliner? It was some big name. I'm surprised I don't actually remember it now. And I was
Mhm.
like, what the fuck was Sinbad? And I was fucking with Sinbad, and he thought it was the funniest thing. He was like, nobody fucks with him. So fast forward, I go back to work. I'm sitting at my desk probably 6 months after this.
Okay.
Um, and I get a phone call, and he's like, "Yo, man, what's up, man? This Sinbad." No, this is exactly what he says. He's like, "Hey, man, this Sinbad, man. What's up, man? I just want to see what's up, man. I want to see if you want to go do a comedy." And Sydney had just won, or no, he was on Prank My Mom, right?
Okay.
And so I thought it was Sydney, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever, Sydney. Stop fucking with me." And I hang up the phone, and then yeah,
No.
I hang up the phone. I hang up on him, and then he calls me back like, "Hey, man, don't fucking hang up on me. This is really Sinbad." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is Sinbad, sir. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry." And I get up from my desk and I walk into the hallway, and he was like, "Hey, man, so um, I've been meaning to call you, man, and all this, man. I wanted to see if you wanted to do a gig with me." And I was like, "Of course." And I was like, "Should I quit my job?" And he starts laughing. He was like, "No, no, no, man. Let's see how this works first." And I'm like,
You was ready
I'm
to
like,
go.
I was like, all right, bet. So then we go do a show at like College of the Canyons, out there by like Six Flags in LA, whatever.
Okay.
And then we do the show. I want to say like my aunt and them came out, so like I knew people, some coworkers and shit, because they lived out in like Santa Clarita. So they're like, "Oh, we're going to the Sinbad show. It's gonna be so great." So I go, and then I don't hear from them for like a month or two, or like
Okay.
3 months. I'm like, "Oh man, did I upset them?"
Did you reach out?
No, I mean, I don't want to overstep. Like, I'm still your
Yeah.
daughter's friend. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you still know my family, but and know me from work. So like, if I didn't meet your standards, and this is what I'm thinking in my head, of course. Like, if I didn't meet your standards, or it just wasn't that vibe that you were looking for, then I get it. You know what I'm saying? Comedy's still a vibe. And so then he hit
Yeah.
me up another time, and he was like, "Hey man, so like go talk to your boss, man, and see if you can get some days off of work, man. Let me know if you need me to talk to him," which I thought was the funniest shit ever, because I was like, this nigga would really talk to my boss. And so Uh,
You feel like my father anyway. Just when
yeah.
he on stage, you feel like he like, let me tell you, like he'll put in a word for you, and people won't say no to him.
And I was just like, man, you about to give me some PTO that I don't know about? What's up? Fucking. And then we go, and I'll never forget this shit, to Raleigh, North Carolina, and do Charlie Goodnights. And he kept making fun of me because he was like, man, what the fuck you got on, man? I didn't know how to dress for a Sinbad show. And so I was like overthinking it, right?
What?
And he was like, man, I just want to keep tossing you my keys, man. You dress like a fucking valet.
Oh, were you like
I was trying to dress for his
professional?
crowd. Yeah, I was. It was terrible. It yeah, it was terrible.
The way that happened for you, I feel like a lot of things when it comes to entertainment and like we make our steps up, a lot of it is networking and like, it's just being a good person and somebody messing with you and it take time and then you think it's gonna happen and it ain't. Like you said, it took him a couple of months to call you back or to even reach back out to you. But that's dope. And now you just like you got the spit shine polish on you.
Oh man, I for me, I was excited to be a student. If I could be completely honest, like
Yeah.
learning from somebody like him and being on the road, like it definitely comes with everything. You carrying bags, don't get it twisted. Like he's OG, so you carrying bags, you opening doors, sometimes you're the driver, sometimes it's on you, but it comes with so many perks and moments of growth. Um, because there is some nights where either he running late or he taking care of some family stuff where you up there doing 45 minutes or an hour or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
So like it was the biggest blessing that ever could have come with me, my first instincts of thinking that I was gonna do comedy, of being
That's
fucking
dope.
scared.
Yeah, and you said you almost used the bathroom on yourself and it didn't happen. You
Oh
thought you
yeah,
would.
yeah, yeah,
But that's dope. So your journey has been pretty dope. And then now I see your face all over the place for the BET show Bigger. How did that come about? I was just like, Chase. Out of nowhere, I was just like, look at Chase. He just crop up on the screen.
yeah. That was, man. That was work. That was audition after audition after audition for the same, you know, casting directors, going in for projects, and you know going back in for the same projects, and you thinking that you have it. So I think it was a company with a whole bunch of no's. um
Okay.
I mean, again, like I've definitely have seen some success with commercials and been blessed that way,
Hmm.
but yeah, that was a win. You know what I'm saying? When you think eventually you going in for something and they find something that fits either your voice or something that's just right for you. Because that's the one thing that I'm a big fan of, just, or a believer, should I say, of like you get what's for you, like,
Exactly.
and I only want what's for me. So
Yeah.
I felt like this was just for me, and it lined up. Funny enough, the dude had a background in accounting, or was an accountant on the show.
Hmm.
So it you have that background and a little bit of that formula to kind of go into that space of a black man in that world and finance. So yeah,
That's
no,
dope.
it's and then with a dope ass cast. I think that's what also helped it, with dope directors.
Hmm.
Just there was a lot of good things that came along with Bigger, being a Will Packard
Yes.
production.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hilarious. You funny. I saw one of the scenes that was posted a lot where I think you was smacking some stuff around.
I was smacking white people.
It was the funniest scene. What's next? What's next for you? Like, how's
Um,
the show Bigger? Has it been renewed?
Yeah, we about to shoot season 2, actually.
Okay, congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and then again, trying to see, I think on the other side, what comedy's going to look like, and got a couple other projects looking into on the other side of filming season 2.
Dope.
Um, but yeah, no, and they got a couple projects too that that I've been pitching, but things have thankfully picked back up. So those conversations have continued the traction that they had before. So I mean, I'm more so excited. Like I kind of get out of the way, and leave room for God to kind of step in, because I mean, like I know we couldn't have scripted the shit that's happened so far, and
Exactly.
so as much as I'm like, hey, I got this, it's like, yeah, I may have this and I may have that, but God may have something better, and I'm not gonna argue with him. So
I think in the whole pandemic time, like it forced me to get reconnected spiritually, right? Like where it's just like, God, what you want? What you want? Okay, I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing, but what you want? What you got? Do you have any unexpected like trips to the emergency room? Um,
um yeah, actually. You said what?
I said I remember seeing you, bandaged up at some point, but I
Oh
didn't know
yeah.
if you wanted to share.
I mean, fuck you. I mean, we here. Why not? It's you. Um, I mean, and everybody who's listening, but it's I was in Aruba again, and this time I was like supposed to be performing, and um, I performed the next day, having a great old time. Fucking was four wheeling. We out there racing the four wheels, the ATVs, whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm doing a little burnouts and shit. I'm comfortable on the four wheelers, and it flips, and so I'm going fast as fuck when it flips for me trying to
Oh,
avoid something, and
uh-huh.
so to avoid it flipping, it throws me. So it tips and throws me off. So I fall, dislocate my shoulder, have to pop it back in place,
Wait,
and then
who popped it back in place?
I did, because I got to run and go grab the four wheeler.
Wait, yo, you popped your shoulder back in place?
Yeah, I grabbed my
You-
wrist and yanked my arm up and popped it
Man,
back in place.
so who like were you embarrassed? Were you like,
No, I
with a
mean,
I
I
don't want
was,
to say if you were you with a woman or a boo
yeah,
thing at that time?
I was actually oh shit.
You could take
Was
the
that
fifth if you don't want to tell all your business, but
Yeah,
I don't
let's
think
not tell all of it. But so yes, I was.
okay.
And I wasn't necessarily in a place of embarrassment, because the shit flipped. I was able somehow to catch back up to it, get back onto it, and the adrenaline was going so much that I didn't feel the pain. And
Okay.
then so she was like, "Oh well, since y'all not racing no more, here I'll drive." And so she got on the front, and I got behind her, and that's when the pain hit, and I just like kind of collapsed on the back of her, and these little white angels came out of nowhere. And I say they white angels because they wasn't even supposed to be. We weren't supposed to be over there, and they definitely weren't supposed to be over there either, because they had their truck and the jeep. And as soon as they seen me hit the back of her, they like, oh shit, and they come out of nowhere. They flagged them down. They put me in there and they drive me to the hospital. Thankfully, my aunt was also there. But the
Okay.
thing that you learn is that you don't want to get hurt outside the country.
At
You know what I'm
first, you
saying?
don't want to get hurt, period. But outside the
Oh yeah.
country, was it like was it expensive or like the insurance thing or what was it like?
It's a communication thing.
Mhm.
They also, like, our doctors will prescribe, like, oh, what do you have? You have a boo boo, here. We'll give you some codeine. We'll give you this. Like, you're gonna be drugged the fuck up. Like,
Right.
they're gonna make sure that, oh, we're gonna try to create an addict. That's our government. when you're on
Mm-hmm.
these islands where they lax as hell, they like throw some dirt on that shit, cuz, and be okay. And you're like, wait, what? And so like, yeah, so like I again, and I've said this on stage too, because I've had to talk about it, when I was in the sling, especially because I was still doing shows. And I
Mm-hmm.
would just, like I knew I was in trouble when the fucking doctor came in some flip flops. I was like, nigga,
This
like, this,
it's not gonna
I'm,
end well.
yeah, I'm not gonna get help. This is not gonna be good. And then like he didn't give me like a sling. It was just like some handmade shit. It was like some shit that you see in the movie if like somebody gets hurt and they're like,
On the
oh,
island.
okay, yeah, and then they just give you like a bandana and then you wrap your shit up. You're like, oh, okay. You're like, yeah, but like this don't support shit. This holds my wrist and my neck.
They didn't do X-rays or give you any medicine.
Man, they was like the doctor will be back on Thursday, and I was like, nigga,
Shut.
I leave on Tuesday.
How you get hurt and the doctor not even there?
Man,
The
I was
doctor.
just so we are in school. I was like, students? Oh hell no, man! Get me the fuck up out of here. And then the funny thing is, when I was like, so what do you got for the pain? He was like, well, we have some aspirin. I was like, some aspirin.
They don't even do aspirin no more.
It was like Tylenol, I think it was. And then
No, I'm
my
just saying, like today, like I can't remember giving anybody aspirin.
yeah, and then my oh yeah, this it was some off brand shit too. And then my aunt being in there, she was like, "Don't worry, baby, I got some stronger shit in my purse." I
Yo,
was,
aunt, I mess with her.
oh
She
yeah,
she
she the shit.
motivated you to be a comedian. She by your side. She your
That
doctor. She
that's
your
my heart. Yeah, yeah, my aunt's the shit. She's the reason why I made it out to LA.
that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope. That's dope. That's dope. So
yeah.
I mentioned that story because I remember being at the comedy store and I saw you. And the thing is about when we comedians, Chase, we not gonna let nothing stop us from getting on stage.
At
And I
all.
feel like, and I saw you on your sling, you know how we had jokes and then but then you was like, yo, it's healing and you was trying to get your range of motion back and everything, and it was like you was in a good place. And I remember when I actually had to have hip surgery, and I don't know if I known you at that time, but I literally was going to open mics with a cane because I was
Yeah, I
literally
do.
like, you
Remember
remember
that?
that?
Yeah,
That is not sexy.
yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like, hey, when you don't let nothing stop you, then fast forward, look where we at now.
That part. That part.
Bam.
That
Well,
grit is, but I think that again, man, if we think back to like even where we started, um the things that have even bonded us, I guess, and bridged that gap for that conversation,
uh-huh.
those are the calluses that you need for what we do in some senses. Like, you needed that childhood in order to be okay with the no's, be okay with the yeses, know how to handle the yeses, know how to manage this, know how to manage that, be conscious of this, know how to be okay with this. I think that those are the things that make us great in some senses.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You preaching today. You started preaching, you've been preaching.
Oh
Um,
man, it's.
hey, that part or no cap, is that okay? See, I said no cap before, but I don't really know what it means. What does that mean?
That means no lies.
Okay, I thought it was,
Yeah.
and but okay, thank you for clearing it up.
No, trust
Um,
me. I got nephews that I ask, hey, so like, come here. No, close that door. Listen, so what does this cap shit mean? And then they start laughing at you for a little bit. You're like, all right, here, look, here's $10. What does this cap shit mean?
oh
And
my
then
goodness.
he opened up the door and he was like, "Did Uncle Chase don't know what cap mean?" And then my sister and my other nephew came in there and they explained it to
Mm, yeah, okay. I ain't want to keep pretending because I felt like you were
me.
so being honest today, and I'm like, let me clear it up, and what is it? Um, but no, that's dope. So I'm so happy you took the time to talk to me. I really didn't have much else. Do you have any home remedies that you use that's not like medicine, or I know some people use cod liver oil for everything, or like something that like
Ginger ale?
you a ginger ale man?
Yeah.
Do you
Like,
have a brand of ginger ale?
I mean, sometimes I go Canada Dry and sometimes I go Seagram's, but I try to stay in that realm. But once you start finding out about like real ginger ale and then ginger beer and stuff like that, you kind of venture off. But
Mhm.
I also drink Jameson and ginger, so like that's my drink. So it's all those things. But yeah, ginger ale I feel like fixes a lot of stuff, and then if not, the Jameson and ginger ale fixes the
They
rest.
just take it all. They
Yeah,
do everything.
yeah. So like you fell down some steps, or you bumped your head on something, or you sprained your ankle. That
Hey,
shit,
I ain't mad at that.
that shit
I
be
I
cool.
agree. I'm pretty sure both the combination and alone, both of them work. And I
It's science.
thank you so much, Chase, for taking the time. Where can we follow you and see you? I know BET season two, a bigger coming soon, or
Hey. Yes, I am at Chase Comedy across the board. Like that's on every social platform at Chase Comedy.
Mhm.
And website also at Chase Comedy. Should probably update that too. Some new stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, if y'all haven't seen Bigger, go check out Bigger season one. BET Plus, Amazon, Prime, or you can even check it out on Apple TV. It'll get you where you need to go. So you ain't got no excuse. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your computer. You can watch it on your Apple TV, your Fire Stick, all that.
Dope.